lunch break.
Welcome to lunch break,
Man.
everybody. Grab your drink, grab your snack, grab your lunch.
No
And
energy drink
unfortunately,
today.
Don't grab your energy
Water.
drink. I left it.
So what does that mean? We're not going to get the full Justin? How much? We don't get 100% Justin without energy drinks?
I for one, I had coffee this morning, so I'm still here, but I'm used to a double boost, and I'm not double boosted. But it's okay. I need to work on that anyway. I need to level myself out a little bit.
Is there a reason for that?
Just I overdo everything. Like
No.
I know I overdo a lot of things. So even in my energy drink and in my caffeine intake, every like 3 months or so, I have to like back off a little bit, like
Okay.
and then reset. But then I go right back into it. I'm not trying to quit cold turkey or anything. No, you will see me with the energy drink again, but just slowing down the consumption of them just the slightest of bits.
Well, you got to set a role model for those junior high kids too, Vince. You know.
Yes.
Vince, you do coffee? You do anything kind of energy?
Tea. I drink a lot of tea.
So I
throughout
know
the day.
I know you. Our guest today is Vincent Roche. A lot of people in Bakersfield know him. I know him personally. We're friends. So are you still swimming in the morning?
Yeah, I swim about 5 days a week.
At what time do you get up and go swimming?
I get up at 5 and I'm in the pool at 5:30.
I love that, Vince. You're probably one of the most fit guys I know. You really are.
I'm really not. But
No, you are. You are. So getting up at 5, do you have your tea before you go to swim, or do you?
no, actually, several of the guys I swim with are pretty regular. We usually go and have tea at Cafe Smitten after.
Oh, after.
Yeah.
Wow. How far do you swim in the mornings?
A little over a mile.
Whoa.
I'm just like, that's a mic drop.
yes. I've done some swimming and
There isn't a better exercise that anybody can do than swimming. in a
full
mile.
body, and you don't find an out of shape swimmer. You will never find an out of shape swimmer. You
Yeah, it's
don't.
because you're so scared. You're gasping for air all the time.
That's why your body fat's so low.
That's awesome.
So we got a great guest today planned for you guys. If you want to share us, love to have you guys come out there. Justin and I aren't too proud to ask for likes and shares and questions and that stuff. So Justin, should we just jump in?
Yes, we should definitely jump right on in. We first one I saw there was a small tech issue going on. You guys, we do want to address it. We're fully live now. So if you're on that other one, we're going strong. So that's fixed. It's corrected. So definitely like and share. We might have dropped a couple of people. So share this and let people know that it's back live. It dropped for about 30 seconds. So thank you, Seth. Once again, Seth Parker. He saved the day again. You guys don't even know.
Our producer.
Yes.
So you were just rolling through that, just looking at me as calm, as collective, and we were having.
I was, but if you guys were watching when it dropped, I took a direct line to Seth. I was like, "Hey, something's going on." So let's go in. We're gonna. You want to start with our question?
Yeah. So what we had last week is we had Mike Maggard, County Supervisor Mike Maggard was in, did a great show. He told us something new. I didn't know he's colorblind, and but. We had a question come because Mike shared that. He shared the fact that he was colorblind, and it led into our question because a couple people wrote in and says, "I've got a something I deal with, and how would I actually be able to overcome that and come out around with it, and that could be a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of things that they deal with in life. I've got two. I've got a speech impediment. I have a lisp, and I have a heart problem. My heart problem is congenital. So I'm going to jump in on this. So as I have a lisp, my lisp was probably identified when I was in second grade. I didn't really know I had a lisp. I don't think it was a secret to anybody. But what that it causes, my motor skills in my mouth don't work properly, and so I'm called what's a tongue thruster. So when I swallow, my tongue goes forward. Not backwards, and you're thinking about right now. You just did it, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I've never had it explained to me.
And your tongue went backwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Vince's does the same, but that affects speech, and so I have a lisp, and I have a hard time with S's, and sometimes numbers, But how I overcame that was they identified it. Once they identified it, there was a little embarrassment involved because back when I went to school in the Stone Ages, when the dinosaurs walked the earth, I had to go to special classes. So, and as kind of went through, these things, it kind of affected me. And I always turned towards athletic because I was good at it. So I just figured, hey, I would just, let my performance speak for myself.
Yeah.
So as I got into bodybuilding, and one of the things that I started doing was having, I started getting successful.
Yeah.
People wanted me to do seminars. And I thought, man, I thought I escaped all that. You know, now I got to talk in front of people.
Yeah.
I could stand in a bikini brief in front of 10,000 people on ESPN and do a 90-second posing routine,
Yeah.
choreographed. But for me to speak live in front of people, I mean, that's when the cold sweat would start, and just everything. So then I went into speech classes. I learned the exercises with my tongue. And then again, last week on our show, I was a host on ESPN American Muscle Magazine, their first season. And it really helped when the producer, Lou Zwick, told me, he goes, Tom, people want you to succeed. They're pulling for you. You know, I thought it was just the opposite. You know, people were making fun of me, but they weren't. Everybody was wanting me to succeed in overcoming that. So the more I did it, the more I overcame it. Even today, when I go speak in the pulpit or just do some motivational speaking for athletics, it doesn't bother me because I know it's there and I do my best to overcome it. But I've got a message that I want to get out, whether I'm talking about Jesus Christ or I'm talking about fitness. It's something that I'm passionate about. So I don't let that stop me. So that's probably my biggest thing, is don't let anything that you have stop you. Address it and overcome it, because people are wanting people to succeed.
Yeah, for me, there's actually two. I thought about it I thought about it after we got off our production meeting, right? So for one, I have like weak ankles. When you think about weak ankles, I have weak ankles. I've broken my ankles at parks, in games. I've always had like.
You've been a basketball player
for my whole life, basketball, and my ankles will give out on me. I have metal in both ankles. Yes, I have a lot more in my left. My left ankle is my jumping ankle, and it's given out completely, which then caused, right now what I'm dealing with is an MCL. My MCL is torn, and I'm gonna have to do surgery here in the next like 6 months. Just figure out a good time to do it.
There's never a good time.
But there's never a good time. I just have to go with it. But what I learned is, and I'm still in leagues to this day. I still play even on it, and it might not be the wisest decision, but I'm doing it because you just have to adjust and go. I had to make adjustments for the physical problems that I had. I decided not going to let it hold me. I'm going to do my best and not let it hold me back too much and push forward. But the one I thought about that was a physical one that I had to get past mentally was when I grew up, I had an extra tooth that came out right here. Like it was the weirdest little stupid tooth in the world. And so much so that still to this day, I have to make sure I catch myself. It created this habit in me. When I would laugh, I would go like this. I would cover my mouth out of the insecurity when I laughed. Crazy. And it created my whole laugh for like 10 years was and covering my mouth and covering that. And then finally, and through finding God, and that's what I like about your story too, because now you preach every Wednesday night, and you preached every month on Wednesday, and you do God. It's funny how God's going to use that and make you preach through it. And the same for me. I preach, and I'm in front of video for a living, and I had to get comfortable with myself and who God created me to be. And And that's what's key. You have to understand that every part about you, God created you, and He created you perfectly. If you want to work on yourself, better yourself, however you see. But know that no matter what, God created you exactly how you're supposed to.
Moses had a stuttering problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Moses, yes.
Moses had a stuttering problem. I identify with that. Paul even talked about his speech wasn't eloquent. So I think there was something about that. So what we're doing is giving resources. Vince, you want to jump in on that?
Well, I think it's very common about being singled out in public and or speaking in public. I think as young people, most of us are really afraid of that.
I think it's the number one fear.
Yeah, and I remember, as most of us, we think back on our childhood, and I was always terrified of being singled out of a group. I much preferred being just part of the group and not singled out, and not always for good things, but sometimes for bad behaviors. But as you get older and you become more passionate about things, and you realize that you're afraid to speak in public, but there's times when you need to speak.
Yes.
And so it's like most things, you have to, it's an acquired skill to overcome it and to kind of lead into it, right? And just share your heart and share what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And we know that, leaders need to speak up and lead by example first, but also communicate their passions. And that's where mentorship comes in great. And as you look to others who are before you or down the road a little bit farther, and you can look to them and gain some strength and some wisdom from what they're doing, so that you realize, hey, I can do that.
Yeah. Leading on, I think you just had a speaking engagement. You're like a speaker. I saw on your Facebook. You just did something with your business. Vince is the director of Cushman Wakefield and the principal there. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, one of 4 owners of a local company that has offices here in Bakersfield, Fresno, and Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
Vince has done a great job, and so sometimes you have to get up and speak.
Yeah, no, as an owner and a leader of a company, we need to be able to communicate our passion, our values, our core values, the things that are important to us. And as we attract talent to the company, we want them to embody the things that we believe in. And so you have to be able to articulate your value proposition and what you believe, and hopefully you're attracting those people that have the same core values that you do. And that's how great organizations, families, any body of people are built, really.
Well, you probably had to do a lot of communicating in your family for 6 children.
Yes.
Yeah.
6 children. Share their names.
It's rare someone gets on this show with more children than me. So
I know.
I love it. I love knowing that there's someone out there with
Vince has got an
more
amazing
wild story.
family.
Well, speaking, kind of going back to that leadership thing, as men, we need to lead. We need to lead our homes and lead our children, and those of us that have had the privilege of doing that, we know how difficult it can be in times when you have no playbook and you're simply on your knees going, what do I do next? This is incredible. But I do have 6 kids. The oldest is 30. That's Taylor is my oldest son, and then Brettley is my daughter, who's 28. Sullivan is 25, just turned 25. And Delaney's 21, and Liberty's 18, and Lily is 17.
Good job. He
So,
knocked out all the ages. You guys, you kids at home, give them a round of applause. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, great kids.
and they are
I'm
great
blessed.
kids.
Very blessed.
I know them, and great kids. Yeah, did a great job.
Privilege.
So
Let's go into our infamous question so we can get into your story. I want to get into. He has so much wisdom to share with us, so we do need to get to that. So let's start with the infamous question. It's our turn, Tom.
Okay.
To share something that the audience may not know about us. We've shared like 3 nuggets already, possibly, I think it is, and now we're on to our 4th. So what is that thing? What's new?
Yeah, I
There
love
it is.
that. Thank you.
Seth loves pushing that button. You guys don't ever let him live it down. He knows he loves it.
He does. I love that. Well, what's new with me? A lot of people don't realize it about me, but I am a nerd, or I forgot the other word that I could be called. I'm nerdy. I really am. One of my professions was computer science, and I love that. But I also keep tropical fish. And I started doing that when I was bodybuilding, and I won't drop the other nugget that I used to do, but the only thing that would keep me sane were my fish. So I've kept tropical fish, and I think Seth's got a couple pictures of my tank the way it is now with the cat on top of it. And then there's another picture with my daughter Taylor, who's 25 now, but she was probably 8 or 9 back then. And so I've done that, but it kept me sane through my endeavor, my first profession, bodybuilding. There again, when we dieted, and I don't ever hide my steroid abuse or PED abuse. You're not fit to be around normal people sometimes, especially in a dieting phase. And so I would have a hobby, and it was keeping tropical fish. So I've done it for 47 years.
Wow.
Kept my fish for 47 years. So it is.
Yep, I think I've seen that. I dropped my kids off. I dropped Hazel off to be babysit one time.
Yeah,
I saw that fish.
Yeah, we got to babysit Hazel one time.
Yeah,
yes.
that was cool. And for me, my share is kind of bounce off of what we shared last time with Mike Maggart on the show.
Yeah.
Is that I write poems, he writes poems as well. And you guys, I shared, I hate this. I don't want to share this poem.
Because you don't read them, or Cassie doesn't have you speak them out.
No, so I had to go. No one makes me read these things. These are ways I get out my feelings. And the one I chose to share is the one I went to a beach trip with my wife, and I was looking at the beach, and I was doubting everything. I was doubting supposed to marry her. I was doubting everything. I was doubting it all. I was doubting if God was real. And I wrote this poem, and I'm just gonna share it, and,
might as well just start,
you guys
Justin.
say nothing about it after that. It's called Staring into a Sea of Doubt. It says this: you created the wind, the man, the stars, and the waves. Still I struggle to trust the path that you paved, to trust your ways, looking at your face, doubting the depths of your grace. I see the direct reflection in your eyes in the water, the moon as your hat, the sand at your feet, and whole world on your back. Waves crashing at my feet, a sound that can never be recreated by man nor machine because a higher power made it. This all leaves me with one question. Do I trust the Creator or go on living a life full of sin, telling myself I'll surrender later? Because if I truly believe that there's something bigger than me and trusted his word and lived it out to the T, then where would I be? Even this dollar in my pocket says, in God we trust, that there's a God big enough to form man from dust. Still, I look into this ocean full of love in your face and tomorrow fall victim to lust. But through all of my doubt, disobedient, and discontent, you are willing to forgive if I confess and repent. So I give you my life. It's yours to control. It's the least I can do for you saving my soul. That's the one I wrote looking into.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's the one I wrote looking into. I was so and that's a real poem, you guys. I was doubting it
great.
all. I was doubting it all, but that's my way of getting it out, because I won't go to Pastor Tom and go, Pastor Tom, I'm seriously doubting. I need you to pray for me. I have to do it like this. This is my only way. So that's me being vulnerable for you guys. That was mine.
Well
Justin, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that's a resource. Maybe some of you out there need to revert to getting a gift of writing poetry.
Yeah, it helps.
It
helps.
does.
Yeah.
It does. So, Vince, what about you? What's new out there?
I'll share.
Maybe somebody doesn't know.
I want to share something, but I want to just speak to Justin that what you just shared. That is a real blessing, and I write a lot of business letters, which are real straight and direct forms of communication. And what I found was I was tired of that. And when I was going through some trials, I did similar to you. I would just start writing, and it really came out of journaling.
Oh, wow.
And,
Wow.
And as a way of expressing your pain. And I don't think men do that very well.
No.
We
But,
don't,
but
Vince.
so I applaud you for encouraging
Thank you.
your others and those that learn about you doing that, because it is a great way to just pour out what God has in your heart, but oftentimes we never say.
You never
We
say.
keep
But
it
it's
to
in your mind and
ourselves.
in your heart, and it's a gift. But so
I
thank you
appreciate-
for
I
sharing
appreciate that. It's
that
not
was
easy.
great,
It's
Justin.
not easy
Yeah,
to share
well
that
done.
stuff, man.
that. Yeah.
I don't have those talents.
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes we don't know the talents God has
That's
given us.
true.
Right? We all have amazing gifts.
I'll start
And
writing,
it's just a
Tiffany.
question of
Uh-oh.
I'm going to write you some poetry.
Tom's writing a poem. I can't wait.
you know,
It has started.
The passion doesn't start as a passion sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just starts out. But as far as for me, that you wouldn't know, a trivial one was I started a window washing company in high school called Sunshine Window Cleaning.
Oh, I love
And I
that,
used to
Vince.
wash windows in houses, condominiums, and I put myself partially through college doing that. And
And you subleased your apartment too, didn't you?
I subleased an apartment up in San Francisco for a while.
You
but,
told me that one time.
But I still have a fetish for clean windows. I love clean windows in my
That's
car
so
and my
funny.
home, and I still wash them my windows in my home to this day, and mirrors. And anyway, that's kind of a trivial one. But the other one I was mentioning before the show is my grandfather on my mom's side was a federal district judge who was appointed by Eisenhower, and he was best
That's
friends
amazing.
and dear, had a dear relationship with Earl Warren, who's from Bakersfield.
Famous.
Yes.
And they went to college together in Berkeley. They served at the Oakland District Attorney's Office, and then of course Earl Warren became the governor of California. And my grandfather and my mom lived in Sacramento and worked at the what do they call the governor's mansion
Okay,
in
for sure.
Sacramento, because he was his chief of staff and wrote a lot of his
What a neat
speeches.
story.
And then was even considered for the Supreme Court justice position after Earl Warren was
Moved on up.
on the justice, or was one of the justices. So it's kind of trivial.
That's
or
cool.
kinda
Well,
interesting,
I went
but
to Earl Warren Junior High, so
Yeah.
so
If
his
it wasn't for
legacy lives
Vince's
on.
grandfather's friendship,
I wouldn't have my 8th grade education that's standing strong. No, I'm just.
I was raised in the Bay Area, so I thought it was odd that I ended up here in Bakersfield. And then I knew the Earl Warren story because we had pictures of him and my grandfather together. And I ended up in Bakersfield after going through college up in the Bay Area and living up there.
I know.
And I'm in Bakersfield, and sure enough, Earl Warren was from here.
So
thought it
I
was
did
kinda
write in my
interesting.
notes during the production meeting. You said something though that I wanted to bring out. I don't know if you want to bring out. You have royal bloodline as well, correct?
Well, we've never done the deep dive, but I know Lady Di's mother's maiden name was Roche, R-O-C-H-E.
There it is.
So
see?
I'm one of 7 kids, and
gotta be
so
connected.
We'll just assume that
Wait,
there's
it's connected.
some
Listen,
genealogy there
Princess
that
Diana
connects us.
is
yeah.
his distant relative. I'm
Yeah.
telling you guys.
Well, that's why you're handsome and you have a great education and you're
Yeah.
smart. You
I
have,
don't know. It wasn't by my grades, I can tell you that.
and that's awesome. Well, Vince, I know about you, and I want to read this part from this book, and I'm bringing up this book, Tribal Influence, And there's I'm in chapter 6, and there's something that I always consider Vince a dear friend. And there's a word in here that comes from fellowship. It says koinonia. And koinonia, the word basically comes from a derivative of two fellows in one ship. True friendship takes friendship to another level. It describes a friendship where you learn from one another and share a common bond. You are yoked together by a mutual interest. This is a great story to illustrate the point. And so it's so cool to have friends. It's great to have a friend like Vince. It's because you can learn those things and you could bounce off each other with that. Vince, give us a little bit of your story. I know you played football. You're a big athlete. You play hockey now.
I do.
You play football. You swim a mile. I'll never do that, Joseph. That just blows me away.
Well, I'll try to keep it brief, but yes, sports, like many of us when we were young, was my identity.
Yes.
Right? That was my way of being recognized and what I found recognition in. And so I played football and all through high school and college.
And you went to what college?
I did 2 years at a junior college called San Mateo, and then I transferred to St. Mary's College and was able to play 3 years there.
Okay.
And lots of details and how God gently guided me one direction and not another. And I'd go one path and he'd close that door and open another. And
so did you know God this whole time?
I was raised in a large Irish Catholic family, went to Catholic church every day, and I remember accepting Christ as a young boy at about the age 13 and understanding his blood washed me and made me new and was born again. But I didn't develop what I'll call a personal relationship where I was studying the Word and learning who Jesus really is in the Word, and that happened or began in about the age of 26.
Okay.
After I'd moved to Bakersfield and met a local gal and ended up getting married here.
Okay, you can continue
Yeah.
on. I just wanted to know
Yeah.
during those college years, did you know him or not? Because you recognized that he was guiding you. But lots of times we don't realize it when we're far from him.
Sure.
His hand is on our
That's right.
our life's plan.
That's right.
My brother and I talk about it all the time. We can look back and see that my grandmother was praying for us. It's
You
the
bet.
only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
You bet. Yeah. So, but yeah, a lot of that was in hindsight, but the fact that he had me at St. Mary's College, which is a Christian Brothers College, and there was a chapel on campus, and we used to attend that, and so there was a spiritual element. And it wasn't until I moved here to Bakersfield and started to work that I realized I'm never going to fill this hole that's in my heart. I can look at all the nicest cars, it didn't really matter. I had a job and I was making a little bit of money really for the first time, but I realized pretty quickly there's no way that this world and all the things of it are going to fill and satisfy me permanently and in a way that is transforming. And so it was then that I started to attend church, and of course he brought someone into my life that truly introduced me to a personal walk and relationship with Christ. And
that's
so
what it
let's
is,
study
too.
his word and let's see if he is who he says he is.
Okay.
And so that's where that began, that personal transformation.
Okay, so you graduate college, correct?
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
what degree did you get?
A business degree.
Business degree, and
Yeah.
where did you go from there? You played sports all through college. What's the next step?
I was hired right out of college by a real estate development company in San Francisco. So I moved up to San Francisco, and we were developing properties in the Bay Area and, of all places, Bakersfield. And so I
Gotcha.
started commuting down here in 1984, and we were developing office buildings and industrial parks here in Bakersfield. And then I ultimately moved here about 2 years later.
Okay, so I think. Oh, you want to go somewhere right now? Or I can't?
Well, you've got something on the
Well,
tip of your tongue.
Yeah, I want to take it. Well, you mentioned the young lady, and I wanted to get into the family life portion of this.
Yeah.
Because how does the 6 kids take place? Like what?
Yeah.
What was family life like? How far apart did you have these kids? Like what was that life? Early dad life?
Yeah. Great. New for all of us. My oldest son, Taylor, was born in Santa Clarita. We were living there at the time, building an outpatient hospital. But we just kept saying, hey, let's do one more. And like most of us, we were 110% committed to family and to raising the kids and making that a priority. And so we just kept having one more. And little did I know that my wife at the time was thinking about adoption. And after the third one and after the fifth one, she said, would you consider adopting a child? And I said, well, of course I would.
That's an amazing
we've
story.
been given all
Wow.
these blessings, and we're knee deep in raising a family, and it would be a blessing for all of our kids and for us to have the privilege of adopting. So, and I knew nothing of adoption. There was no adoption in my family before, but I certainly know how God adopts us as His children.
Amen.
And of course, we're the ones that were blessed by adoption, and I'd be a huge advocate of adoption to anybody. That even if you've never considered it, what a real wonderful blessing and privilege.
I know of a lot of young couples right now who are in a considering adoption point, and if you can just even speak more to the blessing adoption's been in your life.
Yeah. Well, Lily came to us at 10 months old from China, and she's now 17. But
Amazing young lady.
I call her the glue of our family, because the other 5 kids, and particularly the 2 boys, are so protective of her and just kind of rally around her and cling to her. And people would say to me, "Oh, she's so lucky and she's so blessed that you did what you did." Now, and it's really the opposite. We're the kids and us as parents. We're just taken back, and each day you're blessed. I didn't know if I could love a non-biological child as much as I loved a biological child.
Yeah.
But it didn't take long at all to realize that
out.
You can.
And see, that's the fear.
And that's a beautiful thing.
That's the fear that people have. That's
that we can love an adopted child as much as your own very blood.
As your own.
Yeah, and so that speaks to God's capacity.
Yeah, because if God does
right?
it for us, if God's within us, of course, it becomes family. And that's what, if anyone's out there struggling with that decision, you jump, because we are adopted. And if you don't believe you can love that child like your own, then you don't believe God can love you like His own. So,
Amen.
Exactly.
So that's
Amen.
a great word right there.
Yeah.
Vince, you've been very successful in business. What's your approach to business? If there's somebody out there watching, because you have been successful.
I'm pulling out the notes. I'm going to take notes on this response.
So what's your approach?
Yeah.
Because I know you've always been a big advocate for mentors. And tell us that.
Well, like most of us, we go back to, and we look at how we were raised, but being in team sports, I think that's the single most important thing, that it was never about you on a team. It's about we. It's about us. It's never about me. And so as I look back, all the teams that I was on and the various mentors that inspired me. So as we grew in business and opportunities come, you have to realize it's not about you, not just at work, but at home and even in the kingdom of God, right? It's not about us. It's about the kingdom or the family or the business. And if you're not inclusive and you're not sincere and genuine and truly rooting for every single person on whether it's your team or your company or organization, they'll know it. Yeah. They'll know if you're not real. So, but it came very naturally because of all of the teamwork that we've done, and it can be very fun to win, and it's not always fun to lose as a team, but you do lose as a team
because you can support each other.
That's right. That's right. And there's always a win coming. Failure is only temporary.
Yeah. I've always to tell people that you learn a lot in life on the athletic court, on the field, because it teaches us some lessons. It just does. There's a verse in the Bible in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, it says, "Consider other people more important than yourself." That's
Amen.
a refrigerator verse in my house.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, we posted on the refrigerator.
I love going through childhood sports, having to suffer through a loss, working real hard for something, and then losing a championship or not making the playoffs. Having to recover from that at a young age through sports is a big deal, because when you get older and you fail a test or a class or you lose a job, that the response that you learn from a kid, it helps you respond later in life. You don't want your first loss to be later on in life. Your first experience with being let down, it could be horrible. So I'm an advocate for team sports. No matter what your athletic ability, get on a team or figure out another team aspect that you can get involved in early.
I'll never forget, and I won't say where it happened, but I was in a bodybuilding contest, and I remember the first time there was politics involved, and I placed second, and the guy that won says, "No, you won the trophy." I go, "No, you keep the trophy." Somehow they thought you should win it, but that's good. And he goes, "No, you really won it." And I remember walking away going, "No, I need to know how to deal with this."
Absolutely.
It didn't seem fair.
Yeah.
I look in the mirror and I'm like, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'd already been winning a lot of open shows, and so this was actually a local something. And I was like, it was funny because I remember going back down to L.A. and I was under contract with Weeder Enterprises, and Joe asked me, "So what'd you do this week?" And I go, "Got my first taste of bodybuilding politics in my hometown." Oh, I said it. And he goes, "What happened?" I go, and he goes, "Is there a better bodybuilder in there?" I go, "Well, the judges thought so."
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
it happens.
But it was just a first thing.
A
there.
life lesson. You go through it,
It was.
through team sports or through sports or through athletics. It's a big deal. It's bigger than just trying to win a championship.
Yep.
If people could understand that.
And sometimes it's the process of working through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
is.
I mean, we're to give it our all in our spiritual walk.
Yeah.
Do your best, but give it to God. And in work too, even with your family, I'll give it all I got. But at some point, it's we are to hold on loosely to the things of this world, right? And it's truly in His hands.
How would you tell our audience that you made it through some of the the valleys of your life?
Well, for those who have suffered loss, which is pretty much everybody that's an adult, you've experienced and lived through the loss, whether it be a child or a marriage or a loved one.
Yes.
Or there's really nowhere to turn to this world. I mean, when you only have
True.
one place to turn, and that is that the Lord is the one who comforts you, and you realize just being with Him quietly, and then so to me, He taught me to be still. The overwhelming message to me when my marriage failed after 26 years, which was devastating, was be still. I got this thing. It's okay. Just be still and be present.
Yeah.
Don't live tonight. Don't live tomorrow. Be present. And that was, I learned an acquired skill that we don't do very well because in our culture, everything's coming at us.
Make it happen. Do what it takes.
And so I slowed things down because it was very clear. That was the number one message to me that He just kept saying, be still. And then of course I had a small group, including you as one, and three other men that we would spend 2 or 3 hours together per week.
Yes.
Just everything was wide open. We could talk about anything. They were in similar spots, and we supported each other, walked with each other, prayed with each other, cried with each other, and God comforted me and really just healed is the word. It was like you put a drop of water a day or back into my tank, and it took about a long time for Him to slowly heal you. But I sincerely feel like I can say it was God that healed me, not myself, and not books that are that kind of thing.
Self-help.
That's a long way to answer your question.
Well, but no, it's true because it talks about in tribal influence, it's the koinonia.
Yeah.
You had friends that you could come to. You had
Yep.
friends that you could turn to. The Bible says that when we confess our sins to God, He forgives us. But when we confess our sins and talk to others, He heals us. So you had a healing process.
Yeah.
Getting together with God, knowing you had to be still. But then
Right.
as you communicated to other people, getting it out and being comforted by them.
Sure.
And the Lord, you get healed through these processes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've told people this, and Tom, I know you know this. For about 3 years, that 2 to 2.5 hours we would spend together on Monday nights was my favorite time of the week. Think of that. Out of 7 days, 24 hours a day, my favorite 2 to 3 hours in that whole week was that time I spent with those guys. Isn't that
love
amazing?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one word too, because the Bible says that we have to humble ourselves before God, and at the right appropriate time, He'll exalt us.
Yeah.
Being around guys or being around others that can help you through issues, help you through a down time or a troubling time in your life, does bring that. It does bring that humblingness where you got to be around other people and you get to share, but you get healed. The same thing.
Yeah.
And then they garnered as much from you as you did from them,
Yeah.
and that's the fellowship.
Yeah.
That's that koinonia in the Bible.
And to
Two fellows in a ship.
to everyone leading a Bible study or a life group, that's your encouragement. You don't know if it's that thing that's keeping someone going, that's
Yes.
healing someone's hurt. That it could be someone's favorite day of the week. Don't give up. Don't give up on I don't care if you got one person coming to your Bible study. Don't give up and keep going, because the fruit it produces. Because look at this healed man now, and where he's at, and how many other people he can help now because of a steady group of men who hung in there. You know what I mean? And like when we're in it, we don't understand how big it is what we do by just studying the Word. As all of us as believers, just studying together and being with each other.
There's a verse that my wife has really touched her life. It's over in 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 3. It says that God comforts us in all of our afflictions, so we can comfort others with the comfort he gave us in our afflictions. So when we go through something, we're going to get comforted, and then we're going to be the ones that are going to comfort others with that.
I was just thinking of that verse, and so you quoted it. That's pretty amazing. It was that 2 Corinthians
1 verse 3. 3 and 4.
Yeah, that was one of our verses, and that about what we just said. So you hit, that was a good reference.
You know, last week we had a marriage conference, and Tiffany and I did a session, and we talked. Our session was Three's Company, and that means the cord of three strands.
Yeah,
and that's anybody. Even it's a marriage. A lot of people take it, but it goes into a friendship too. There's two people, the Lord's involved. That strand isn't easily broken.
Yeah.
And so when you come into it and he does comfort you, that's the key with that.
Yeah.
And allowing somebody to be part of it, and then you introduce the Lord to that circumstance, and it makes it all that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Vince, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with?
Oh, man. I feel fortunate because I love my work, but I think it stems more around I love life because I enjoy working with people.
Yes.
I enjoy the challenges of every day. I mean, we have challenges. We lose. We get fired. We have all those challenges. We all have these challenges, but I just like doing it with people, and especially people that really care. And not everybody in our company is a believer, but a lot of them are. Yeah. And we know what we have is really a gift and something to treasure. And I think we can all help create those environments. Again, whether it's our home or whether it's a church or about whatever organization or Bible study group, whatever it is, we all have gifts, as we said, and things that we can bring. And as we be inclusive, and the other thing is I love inspiration. I love trying to inspire other people especially young people, to see things and achieve things that they never thought they could or never really came to their mind. And so I find great pleasure in that kind of thing, trying to help them see a vision for their life and helping them just overcome obstacles. And so inspiration is a big part of what mentors led me to understand at a pretty young age.
And you're sharing it with others now.
I'm trying,
You're doing it.
I'm trying.
Before we let you go, there was one interesting fact I wrote down. So when we do the production meeting, I just write one word, like one word at a time. And I wrote down O.J. Simpson.
Oh,
I wanted you to.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So just bring that up before we close out. Why did I write down O.J. Simpson?
We all know it. He's famous for many things, but he went to Galileo High School, raised in San Francisco, and you might all recall he ended up a San Francisco 49er. I worked me and my brother and a couple friends worked at a company called Jim Davis Enterprises, and we reconditioned, painted, and restored football equipment for all the high schools, most of the colleges, and the 49ers, Raiders, and Seahawks in the Bay Area in the off season. So their equipment would get sent to this warehouse where I worked. And O.J. Simpson broke one of his helmets. It was cracked. And so we got to keep it. And I had it. It was San Francisco 49er, like a size 8 or something, big old. But yeah, we had it at the house, and like baseball cards. I don't know where they are anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had his helmet at the house, me and my brother, for many years, and that was our claim to fame. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
What an amazing
story! Pretty cool job too. That's interesting.
How did you get that job?
Didn't know that. How did you sign up for this?
How did you get that job?
They were in San Mateo, and it was, I don't know how we ended up. Somebody knew somebody, and we showed up, and they took care of us, and we worked hard. It was fun.
I love it. You had a full, complete life. It's
really
still going on too.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Well, we thank our guest, Vince Roche.
Let's thank our team too.
Yes, but Vince, tell people how they can get a hold of you if they, email
Sure.
or let
Sure.
them know if they
Well,
have.
I work with Pacific Commercial Realty Advisors, which is also known as Cushman & Wakefield Pacific. My email address is Vincent, Roche, ROCHE, at PACRA, that's PACCRA.com. And be happy to hear from anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, if our audience is out there, and if you want to know, ask any questions that we can answer next week with our guest, Bakersfield City Councilman Chris Parlier. Chris, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah,
So,
I said Polyair, so we'll have to figure that out when we get here.
I think he's had it, like my name, Touchstone. No one
Yeah.
could ever, they always call me Touchdown until motion picture company Touchstone Productions came out. Then everybody knew my name.
Cleared it up.
Yeah, so Chris he's probably had that in the past too. So what were you going to say?
I was our production team.
We
Seth,
we
you got
forget
Vince.
this.
Yeah,
we got
gotta shout
Seth
them
Parker, our
out.
producer. We have Vincent Sierra, our creative director, and then Tessa and Taylor Touchstone,
Yeah.
who are creative consultants. So we have a
Yeah.
group that puts this thing together, and Seth saved us today.
Yeah,
So I wanna
can't do it without them.
No, can't do it without them.
gotta
So
make sure
Vince,
we
thank
shout
you
them
so
out.
much, brother.
No,
Thanks for
my
coming out.
pleasure.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is a
thank you
pleasure
for
Enjoyed it.
having me.
you on.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.
Thank you
So-
guys for watching.
Yes, and we'll see you next.
This was lunch break.
Yeah, see you next Thursday.